my friends. Good morning. Happy Friday. It is Friday, September 26th, 2025, and we are starting a new chapter in Flight Sim Fridays. We are going to start today playing in earnest the strategic bomber sim Megafortress. Now, today what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about the game real quick, and then I'm going to load the game up and give you a tour of the plane, and then we'll probably do, come on, man, then we'll probably do one or two training missions, and I'll show you what that entails. So this game came out in 1991, and it is based on a book called Flight of the Old Dog by Dale Brown. The neat thing is, the game came with a copy of the book back in the day, which is probably a great for the author. But you actually needed to read the book in order to finish the game's the game's final. Well, before the expansions came out, the game's final mission, which was directly lifted from this book. So, I don't know with my chair. So it's cool that it came with the book, and it also came with some lovely manuals. It came with a very well written 100-page manual that not only talks about how to fly the plane, but how to it gives you strategy and tactics. It also includes a note from the author, Dale Brown. It's a really great manual, actually. And then it includes a separate manual for flight plans for all the original missions that came with the original game. And then you have manuals for the two expansion packs, which I am lucky enough to have. And yeah. So the nice thing about the Steam and GOG versions of Megafortress here is that it includes both expansion packs. You got, the original game, which came on one 3¼ inch floppy, and you're like, how can a game with 24 missions come on one floppy? It's because there's not a lot of ground detail in this game, but you're not going to be looking at the ground very much. And then you have the first expansion, Operation Sledgehammer, which adds maps for Iran and Libya. And then you have the second expansion, Operation Skymaster, which is based on the book Skymaster, which includes Korea and the Philippines. I find it funny that in 1992, two games came out with an expansion that included the Philippines. This and Gunship 2000. Both included the Philippines, which I find hilarious. So to help me, because I'm going to be very new at this, I printed out a few things. I printed out the takeoff procedure and the transponder codes. You're going to need those. And the basic key commands, which this is a very mouse-heavy game. They actually encourage you to use the mouse and not the keyboard. But I like mixing it up. I like doing both. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm such a mess this morning. A little nervous, honestly. So what I envision with this series is it's going to be a lot like Starfleet 2. I'm going to start very, very green because I haven't played this in decades in earnest. I streamed a little bit of it like a couple years ago, if you recall, but I didn't really play it in earnest. We only did a few missions back then. So what I envision here is I'll be very raw and green at first, and then I'll get better at it as I go. Because back in the day, I did finish the original game. I don't even know if I knew the expansions came out. I don't remember seeing them in stores. I don't really remember reading about them in magazines, though I wasn't big on the magazines in the early 90s. It was the mid 90s I started getting into the magazines. So I somehow missed the 2 expansions for this game. I just don't remember seeing them in the stores. But I also was exhausted from I also was absolutely exhausted from the game's base. The game can be brutally difficult, as you will see as we go on. This game can be brutally difficult. It's not impossible, but it is difficult. It is very challenging, but it is doable. Because Dale Brown actually worked as a navigator on B-52s, I think he helped make the game as accessible as you could in 1991. All right, we're going to launch the game now. I'm going to show you a few things. Where are we? So many things. Where are we? I have so many icons here. Maybe I don't have the thing. Hang on a second. Come on. All right. So if you get this on Steam or GOG, it's going to have a custom launcher. To get all the content via the custom launcher. And they have it set up in a way that I haven't been able to figure out how to do this without the launcher. But with the launcher, you're going to want to launch Operation Skymaster. That's how you get all the content. So the launcher gives you. It also comes with a mission editor. One of the expansions added a mission editor, but I haven't not been able to find missions for it. But yeah, if you want all the content, you launch Operation Skymaster. Yep. If you launch the vanilla game, if you launch just the base game, you'll just get the base game content. If you launch Operation Sledgehammer, you'll only get the base game and Operation Sledgehammer content. If you launch Operation Skymaster, you get everything. So remember that. Launch Operation Skymaster. So this is going to be the whole of the game's introduction. I figured we'd watch this at least once. And that's it. That's the entirety of the introduction. So, now there are 2 ways to get missions. You can either select them or have the game assign them to you. I've never been sure why you want to do the assign option. I've never understood that. I always go select. I mean, I think it just gives them to you in order, but I'm not quite sure. So yeah, here's all the stuff. So the original game came with Red Flag, the Persian Gulf, and Fly the Old Dog, which is the mission based on the book Fly the Old Dog. The first expansion, Sledgehammer, came with Iran and Libya, and the second expansion came with Korea and the Philippines, and I forget which one came with Dragon Slayer. I think that's the second expansion. So there are roughly 70-ish missions, 75-ish missions that come with the base game, which is a lot. These are lengthy missions. This will keep you busy. The original game took me about a year to finish back in the day. And that was with several attempts at some missions. And I played it a lot. Like I didn't fully take a break from F-19 back in the day, but I played this, and this is kind of like F-19 on steroids, because this is not as much of a flight sim, a pilot sim, as it is a system sim, which I will show you. So what we're going to do is we're going to do all the training missions, all the red flag missions. We're going to do all the, so the assign thing gives you a random mission? Okay, I guess that's interesting. I just like knowing, I just like choosing them, but I guess it's kind of neat that it picks one of them for you. I guess if you want to be surprised. But that's neat. I didn't know. I wasn't clear if it just went in order, or if it just picked one, because there's no like overarching plot or anything to these missions. So yeah, there are about 75 missions all told between all of this expansion content. But what we're going to do is we're going to do all of the red flag missions in order. We're going to do all these in order. There are quite a few, as you can see, so this will take a bit. So we're going to do all of these because this is absolutely necessary. If you get this game, do not skip these. Do not skip these. Do not just jump to the Persian Gulf. Do not just jump to one of the... You got to do all of these, because I'm serious. This game is very complex, and you got to know what you're doing to get through any one mission. And these training missions will really get you ready for the actual missions that you'll be flying in the Persian Gulf, Iran, Korea, all that. All right, so we're going to start with flight procedures, the most basic of missions. We're not even going to have any ordnance. Yeah, the first I just reread Fly the Old Dog. There are a couple of problematic bits because it's 1987. But once you get to the actual meat of the book, which is the plane stuff and the combat stuff, that's fantastic. But there's some like personal stuff. It's like, So this first mission, we don't even have any ordnance. We just have fuel. So we're not even taking any weapons with us. All right. So thankfully the game was a pause feature. So there are 5 stations. I'm going to take you through each of them right now. There are 5 stations. Yeah. This is the pilot station. Now, I know this is a flight sim, but you're not going to spend a lot of time here. You're going to take off, land, and refuel from here, and maybe do some evasive maneuvers, but you can do that from other places as well. So you're going to start the plane here. You're going to take off. You're going to land, taxi, that kind of thing, and you're going to refuel from here, and that's it. I know this is a plane sim, but you're not going to be spending a lot of time here. Okay, I have to unpause it. You're not going to spend a lot of time here either. This is the co-pilot station. This is where you turn on the batteries to start the plane. This is where you set the cabin pressure, landing, external lights. You check your fuel, and you do the IFF transponder, which is one of my favorite. Which is the IFF transponder is this game's copy protection. So around the first waypoint where you refuel, you will usually get pinged by an IFF, and you have to give them the correct. You have to give them the correct number, which the people at Ziggurat did include as a separate sheet, which is actually nice of them. Or they will shoot you down. You will die. So if you don't have this, and you try and play this game, you will not make it past the first waypoint because you will immediately get killed by friendly fire, which this and Starflight are my favorite forms of copy protection. I love, this is so funny, I think. The copy protection will kill you, and you cannot proceed at all to the meat of the game because you'll get shot down by your friends. So this is where you also deal with damage, deal with like hydraulics and whatnot. You deal with fuel, deal with electricity. You know, sometimes you got to reset things. Sometimes things take damage and you have to reset generators. You do that from here. You can also control the terrain avoidance computer from here. You can do that from this station or the pilot station. You can check your fuel. And if one of your fuel tanks gets damaged, you can do a transfer from that fuel tank. You can also, you know, get procedures, which is kind of nice. It's kind of like a built-in manual. You know, it's kind of like a built-in manual, which is nice. So yeah, you will not be spending a ton of time here. You will be spending a lot of time here. This is the navigation station. And you'll be spending a lot of time here and here, basically, because that's the camera. Through these screens, you will be setting temporary waypoints like this that will allow you to, while you're on the autopilot, because you're going to be on autopilot almost all the time. While you're on the autopilot from the navigation station, you could set temporary waypoints to fly, you know, between mountains and around radar installations and to avoid missiles and things like that. So you'll be spending quite a bit of time here on the way to your target. This is where you'll be spending most of your time on the way to your target. Also here. This is also where you'll be spending the majority of your time on the way to your target. This is the electronic warfare station where you can select targets, you can jam them. You don't want to jam. You want to be very. The thing about this game is avoidance. You do not want to be seen. So you don't want to be jamming everybody because then everybody know you're there. So you definitely want to, and you could use this to manually jam specific frequencies, which is amazing. But you'll be spending a lot of time here, dumping chaff, locking on targets, jamming targets, that sort of thing. You'll be keeping an eye on the radar from here. This is very important. So you'll be switching on the way to the target. You'll be basically switching between here and here quite a bit. You'll be switching. You'll be making temporary waypoints here, and then you'll be like checking the radar here. You know. So yeah, and you don't want. And then also and then the final station. This is the station you'll also be using quite a bit on the way to the target, because this is where you turn on the radar, and you'll need to turn this on and off every now and again to you know, just make sure, just check for other aircraft, keep an eye on your targets, that sort of thing. You'll have to be doing this a decent amount. So yeah, you have your camera, which you'll also use to lock on target. Yeah, this is your control, which you'll use for certain weapons. So you will be, and certain weapons need different types of camera modes. Certain weapons, you know, need different lock-on modes. So yeah. So you'll be spending a lot, and this is where your ordnance will be, so you could select, you know, which bombs and missiles to shoot. The Megafortress can hold a veritable frac ton of weapons. It can hold so many weapons: bombs, missiles, anti-air, anti-ground, anti-ship. You can put so much on this. It's crazy what you can put on this bomber. So, while I'm still a relative novice, I printed out the engine startup sequence. So first we got to go to the co-pilot, turn on the batteries, and we got to turn on all the lights. And then we go back to the pilot station, and we turn on the parking brake, And we set this from taxi. Taxi is when you can control yourself on the ground, but land is when you want to take off and land. I want to put the flaps all the way down, which takes a few seconds. This is, if I recall correctly, one of the first, if not the first, pretty much purely mouse-driven sim. I don't remember another one before this one that was so mouse-driven. And there are keyboard commands for a lot of this. You actually, in one of the manuals, they explain how you can play this with a keyboard if you don't want to use the mouse. But they recommend you use the mouse for everything. This is 1991. The book takes place in 1987. The game is 1991. All right, so hang on. Okay, so I did all that. Yeah, exactly. It's very impressive for 1991. Okay, so the flaps, I got that. Select all. That's all the engines. Engine start. And then now that the engines are on, we turn off the batteries. Parking brake is on. I thought the plus key would... Okay, never mind. Turn off the parking brake. You can change the thing for the terrain avoidance computer here. This is the altitude for the terrain avoidance computer. Gear up. Flaps up. Autopilot. Terrain avoidance on. This is what you use when you want to fly really low. Like really low. Like nap of the earth flying, but we're not going to do that. Oh yeah, let's you don't have to be on 100% power. That is the low altitude alert. That is the low altitude alert. So like I said, from the pilot station, you could set temporary waypoints. Like say I want to go over here and fly, you know. Say I want to go over here for whatever reason. There's a radar station over there, whatever. You click that, and there's a temporary waypoint. The plane will fly to that temporary waypoint. And this is also like terrain. Kind of neat. So once we hit the temporary waypoint, we're going to fly back to the original waypoint. Maybe. I didn't play a lot of F-15. I prefer let's set the combat, the cabin pressure. Oh, I want to turn the lights off. I think it's interesting how you can also turn the internal lights off, which I find interesting. Okay. There's also an external view, which is pretty cool, I think. And you can do this to, you know... And you could watch the target from here. You can see the Megafortress is avoiding the terrain. I think this is how the game was able to fit on one floppy, because as you can see, Tornado, right? Tornado definitely had one. That came out 2 years after this, in 1993. So yeah, Tornado definitely had one. Good call, Thorsten. So yeah, right now we're making our way to waypoint 1. And once we hit waypoint 1, we're going to be hit with the transponder. We're going to be hit with the game's yeah. Right. Oh, crap. Okay, hang on. 68. All right. 68. Okay. So you have to. I paused because I don't want to. Okay, so 60. So you have to hit standby, and then hit the number, and then hit on, and then ident, and then when you get that reply light, you're good. All right. So as you see, all right. So now that we've identified ourselves, we're going to turn the transponder back off because we don't need that on all the time. I don't think we have to. I don't think there's there is a specific mission where we're going to learn in-flight refueling. That is not this one. So yeah, now we're heading to waypoint 2, and it's interesting. We not only have the Greenwich Mean Time clock, we have an ETA clock for the next waypoint, but you can also start a timer, which is important on some bombing runs. So you have a lot. You have a lot going on, and and I'm sure you're watching this. And you're like, Brian, how can one person handle all this? It is doable. It is doable. Oh, also, there are windshield wipers. It is doable. It's a lot. I agree. It is a lot, but it is doable. It is quite doable. So, yeah, every now and again, you're going to want to turn on the attack radar. That's the waypoint 1 marker. We don't need that. Look around with the camera. Zoom in. It's just, for 1991, this is amazing. And again, this is such a unique sim because there's nothing else like this. One, there are no sims that truly model a modern strategic bomber. Sure, you have some games like Birds of Prey and Fighter's Anthology, which include a B-2 or whatever, but they're not really bomber sims. They're just sims that have a bomber in them. They're not really bomber sims. You don't have a lot of bomber sims. You have like one or two that's some, like the B-24, and then you got at least 2 B-17 sims, maybe, I think at least 2. And then you have this. This is the only sim that really models a strategic modern bomber. And there's nothing else like this. I don't know why there haven't been more sims like this. It breaks my heart. It honestly breaks my heart that this is the only sim like this. I wish there were more. There deserve to be more. Yeah, but then you gotta have missions for it. That's the problem with DCS, is the content. Sure, you got nice planes, but what's the content? You have to rely on fans to make the content. I hate that. Yeah, right. But it is a crying shame that there aren't more games like this. An absolute crying shame. This game is amazing. This is you will see later, once the missions get hairy, you have to be, kind of like Starfleet 2, the conductor of an orchestra. You'll be switching stations quickly. You'll be popping flares. You'll be locking and jamming targets. You'll be, locking onto planes and firing AMRAAMs, and then switching back to bombs, and then you'll restart. You have to learn how to restart a single engine, because sometimes an engine will get damaged, and you'll have to restart that one engine. Which this game all models. I don't remember how to do any of it because it's been so long, but we will probably get to a point where we'll have to do that. Engine restart in flight. Yeah, see, it's all right here. So it's nice that they give you this information. I think this is useful. I think this is interesting. They give you this information. Actually, let's we're burning through fuel. We don't need to go 85 the whole time. You also have an air brake, because sometimes that's handy if a plane's coming under 6 and you want to suck them into your... This game has... the bomber has air mines. Instead of a rear-facing turret, it's got air mines. What it does is launch these air mines, and when these mines detect it's close to a plane, it blows up, and a bunch of flak blows up and hopefully destroys the plane. So what you can do is, if you have a plane on your 6, you can use the air brake to slow down quickly and kind of suck them in, and then launch an air mine, which if I'm forgetting where we do that from. I think it's here. Yeah, right here. And that should destroy a plane. That's right on your tail. Shred them. So yeah, again, this is why this game can fit on a single floppy, because there's not much terrain to look at. But you're not going to be looking out the window very much. You're going to be looking at this. I mean, you'll be looking at the camera every now and again, sure. But that's to look at targets, not to look at the ground. So... I believe it when I see it, Outlaw. Just like they're working on a dynamic campaign. Yeah, okay. Alright, so the tricky part is going to be landing. I haven't landed this thing in a very long time. Let's see, what are the landing procedures? Juice thrust, air brakes on. Okay. The autopilot should set us up. The autopilot should set us up. Yeah, the autopilot should set us up for a landing. I think it will. I'm not 100%. I also put all the manuals here on my tablet, so because they're kind of big manuals, so I'm not going to keep them around. So I'm very fortunate that I have a lovely tablet here with PDF versions of the manuals, so I could, because I'm looking at the landing approach right now. Yeah, we got some time before we have to deal with it. There is also time compression. But again, I don't like using time compression very often, but I'm sure that will come in handy at some points, and you can go up to 5 times time compression. Oh, I didn't realize there was also buttons for it. Ah, all right, that's cool. I was hitting the keys 1 through 5. Yeah. Oh, that's stupid, Outlaw. I love a good dynamic campaign. F-22 had one. EF-2000, one of my favorites. Wings Over Flanders Fields, one of my favorites. The IF-22 and IF-18 games had great dynamic campaigns. Falcon 4, one of the best, because that was designed by like a war gamer. Tornado also. But someone told me, I think it was Frankie of Tornado fame, that the reason that only Tornado had a dynamic campaign and none of the other digital integration sims did is because the guy who worked on the dynamic campaign for Tornado went off to work on Falcon. Which makes a lot of sense, honestly. Which explains why the Falcon campaign is so good. But yeah, I think Tornado, Falcon 4, EF-2000, Total Air War, the IF games, and Wings Over Flanders Fields. Those are probably like my favorite dynamic campaigns. Those are excellent dynamic campaigns. I don't know if you could do a dynamic campaign with a game like this. But then dynamic campaigns weren't really a thing at this point. You had F-16 Combat Pilot, which had one. That was like the first one. Also digital integration, by the way. Then you had Gunship 2000 had a very rudimentary dynamic campaign, more of a tug of war, push-pull situation. I don't know if it was a mistake to do the dynamic campaign like that, because it's really one of the most impressive dynamic campaigns in Flight Simulator history. It's one of the reasons people still play Falcon 4 in its BMS iteration to this day. 26 years later, people are still playing Falcon 4. And a lot of that has to do with the campaign. So, yeah, people are still playing Falcon 4, and a lot of that has to do with the amazing, amazing campaign. I'm just reading about the landing approach. I'll tell you what, guys, if you don't have a tablet, you should get one if you can afford it. It's changed my life. Oh my God. Wait, the F-16 in BMS is more accurate than the DC? Wow. That's crazy. But I'd rather play BMS than DCS any day of the week, and twice on Sunday. Wow, that's funny. I wonder how the Eagle Dynamics guys feel about that. They've been touting realism for 20 some years, ever since the flanker games, and to be outdone by a mod for Falcon 4.0 is amazing. Yeah, I don't engage with DCS. I'm going to go on a rant for a second. I feel that the people who love DCS helped ruin flight sims. Back in the 80s and 90s, you had a good mix of flight sims. You had accessible flight sims, like Air Power, and, Gunship, and, Fighters Anthology. And then you had the more serious flight sims, like F-15, Longbow, that sort, Falcon. There was room for both. But a vocal minority demanded more and more realism. As computers got more powerful, they demanded more and more realism. And there were some of us like, why? Even Sid Meier was like, why? It got so bad, it drove people like Andy Hollis, who made the Longbow games, who worked on F-19. It drove him out of computer gaming entirely. And because of those loudmouth rivet counter jerks, they helped kill flight sims. Now, they don't see it that way. They don't see it that way because they have DCS. They have IL-2. They don't see it as killing flight sims, but I see it as flight sims were basically killed for a while. Because all you had were the rivet countery crap. And then maybe some arcade stuff here. They're like secret weapons over Normandy and crap. But like, wow. So I am still angry at the 90% of people like the DCS people who scream about realism and forget about gameplay. And I think they ruined flight sims for a long time. But now things are kind of turning around. We're getting things like Nuclear Option. We're getting things like Helicopter Gunship DEX, like Tiny Combat Arena. We're getting more and more accessible gameplay, which is what we want. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the flanker games, but I'd rather play those over DCS. They had at least interesting missions and whatnot. Because back then, you had to have some gameplay. It wasn't just about flying. It was about gameplay. It was about building an interesting world to fly in. It's not just about the plane. I don't think. My other podcast co-host, Denny, he says it's a pilot sim versus a plane sim. A plane sim is something like DCS, where it's all about the plane. Where a pilot sim is all about putting the player in situations where you feel like a pilot. And that's the kind of thing I prefer. You know? Anyway. And I don't think you should have to rely I don't think you should have to rely on other people or fans to make a simulation good. This is why I don't like Eagle Dynamics. They rely too much on their fans to make content for their games. I don't like that. I really don't like that. You know, they rely on fans to build missions and whatnot, rather than doing it themselves. And I found out recently they don't even pay some of the people who make planes for them. Apparently there's some legal crap going on with some people. I found out recently about, you know, there's some people who made... Oh, God, hang on. There's some people who made commercial planes for them, and they haven't been paid. Yeah, F-18 was a great sim. F-18 was a great sim. Yeah. The Janes guys did a wonderful job of balancing fidelity and gameplay. They did a wonderful job of that. You know, every one of their sims had good gameplay. You know, even when they leaned more toward realism with like F-15 and Longbow, they still had great gameplay. They were still games, you know? And that's what I feel like a lot of sims have forgotten about. IL-2, I will give the folks at IL-2 credit, the folks behind IL-2. They have made their sims much more gamey with their pilot career modes and everything, that I feel like the IL-2 games are much better now than they were for a while, because they've focused more on actual gameplay over the last several years. I mean, yeah, they still had maps and they still had planes and everything, but they also created this great pilot career mode, which is a pilot focused dynamic campaign that's actually really good. So I got to give the IL-2 folks credit for remembering, hey, we have these great plans, but we need gameplay. I got to give them credit for that. I only know about this DCS nonsense because it keeps coming up on the Microprose Discord. Because there's all this speculation. Oh, is this guy, that Razbam guy, is he going to be working with Microprose on Falcon 5? Do we even know if Falcon 5 is still happening at this point? I don't know. They announced it like 3 or 4 years ago and then nothing. Not even one dev update or anything. So I don't know. All right. Hey, Project IGI. Good morning. All right. I got to get serious. We're about to land. I know I can do this. I've done it before. It's just been a minute. All right, so I'm going to turn the terrain avoidance computer off. Yeah, we have to gain altitude for landing. Yeah, it's a lot of speculation. I'm getting tired of reading it. It's like, who cares? Who cares? I don't care. If he works with Falcon 5, great. I'll be happy that there's a Falcon 5. Oh, really? Thorsten? Oh, God. Yeah, this is what I hate about the rivet counters. None of them are actual pilots. None of them are actual pilots, but they're like, realism, it has to fly. How the fuck do you know? How do you know? You're not a pilot. Did you read a book? Did you watch a YouTube video? How the fuck do you know? I hate it. Yeah, I don't use the word hate very often, but I hate rivet counters. And how they ruined flight sims for a long time. It's not all their fault. It's not all their fault. People gravitated to consoles in the late 90s and early 2000s. So the gamepad replaced the joystick. So it's not entirely their fault, but they do have a fair share of the blame in the relative death of flight sims for well over a decade. That's how I look at it. Okay, so the plane is climbing, which is good. All right, hang on. Okay, all right. Hang on. Use thrust, air brakes on, speed below 375, gear and flaps down. Okay. Yeah. Ugh. Damn it. Oh. Excuse me a moment. Okay, test. Okay. Sorry, I had to blow my nose. Hey, Louise. Yeah, no, I've been mad since the late 90s. I've been mad ever since they drove Andy Hollis, who worked on so many wonderful flight sims, when they drove him out of computer gaming entirely. I mean, good on Andy Hollis. He's living his best life as like a race car driver now. But like, Andy Hollis worked on F-19 and F-15, and he worked and Longbow. Amazing guy, and the toxicity of the rivet counters drove him out of video gaming entirely. And I will never not be mad about things like that. Never not be mad about things like that. Okay, time to land. Here we go. Let's reduce thrust a little bit. Okay, we're not lined up with the runway. We're going to have to do that ourselves. Fine. There's the runway. Is that the runway? Oh, that's the runway. Yeah, we're gonna have to line up ourselves. All right. Autopilot is now off. Damn it, no. Oh, by the way, you don't fly a joystick. You don't fly this game with a joystick. You fly this and solely with the keyboard. Do not fly this with a joystick at all. Hope I'm doing this right. Okay, there's the runway. Okay, give it a couple more miles. Yeah, Luis, this is not a turn and burn flight sim. If you're dogfighting in this, you have already lost. Basically. This is pretty much this is one of the few times. Shit. Turn too much. A turn too much. It's a bomber, not a fighter. It's a bomber, not a fighter. It's a bomber, not a fighter. Okay, there we go. All right. Slow it down. Shh, crappity crap. Wait, that is the runway, right? Is that not the runway? Or is that other thing the runway? God, I can't tell. Which one's the runway? Oh, God. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. That's the low altitude alert. Oh, you should give it a try, man. It's fascinating. Okay, the gear is down. Woo! We did it! Yeah, this is a flight sim, but it's also a systems sim. Oh, we did it. Yay! Yay, me! Alright. Climb to 10,000 feet. Head toward the first waypoint. Descend to 300 feet on the way toward the second waypoint. Navigate toward... Fly as low as possible through the mountains. And... experiment with... Wait. Oh, fly as low as possible through the mountains and continue to waypoint 4. Finally return to Nelson Land. Okay. Whew. Really? I spent the last week or so combing through the manual. I read things several times. So it seems to have worked. Thank goodness. Okay. Plus, some of my memory of playing this back in the day is coming back a little bit. A little bit. Okay. Okay. Yeah, these training missions are super important for this game. Super, utterly, super duper important. Again, it's got a very good manual. It's actually a fun manual to read. It's got a very good manual. But yeah, these trading missions, there are a lot of them for a reason. All right. Not taking any ordnance. Parking brake. Laps. Nope. Full. Batteries off. Parking brake. Wait. Oh, wait. The lights. Kind of interesting how it remembers the cockpit settings that we used for the last mission. Like, this is the old transponder right here. That's interesting. Okay, so parking brake is on, the flaps are down. Sure. Okay. Put this on land. Gear up, flaps up. Oh, 85% power. That's what I want. And autopilot, lights off. Hmm. Oh, that's cool. You can look at your. Okay. I don't know if this pauses the game though. Climb to 10,000 feet. We climbed to 10,000 feet? Oh, we are now. All right. 10,000 feet. Oh. Ha! Sorry about that. I should have turned on the cabin pressure. Okay. Let's see. Hang on. 3, 2. No, I didn't. Oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. Damn it. Ah, damn it. Sorry, friends. Sorry, friends. I accidentally terminated the mission. Sorry about that. I meant to hit escape to get out of the mission order screen, and I exited the mission. So, gotta remember that. Make sure I've got the right mission selected. Yeah, I know. I wasn't far in. It's just Please. And on the cabin pressure. Collapse. All. Should be off now. There we go. Okay. Flaps are down. Parking brake off. Gear up. Flaps up. Time to climb. Hey, Luke. Good morning. We are on our second mission of the day. This is a navigation exercise. Hang on. Hang on. 7. Okay. I love you. Right there. Go to 10,000 feet. Once we hit waypoint 1, we're going to hit waypoint. We're going to turn the terrain avoidance computer on. That'll take us down real low. Okay. Cabin is pressurized. Good. That's what I'm gonna try and do today. We're using temporary waypoints. I was keeping an eye out for the transponder. They should be pinging me like any minute now. Oh. And yet, soon though, it's gonna be soon because we're less than a minute from the waypoint. It's usually around the first waypoint that you get pinged. Once we hit the waypoint, we're going to turn the terrain avoidance computer on. It's going to take us down real low. Well, no transponder. All right, here we go. And down we go. Still no transponder. Interesting. Thought I would have been pinged by now. Got the terrain avoidance computer at almost its lowest level. We're gonna get down nice and low. Still no transponder. Could have sworn they would have pinged me by now. All right. Now we're flying at a few hundred feet, and the nice thing about this is now this is how you set up temporary waypoints to avoid mountains and things. Not all the time, but not all the time, but it definitely approaching the target and trying to avoid radar sites. Yes. Not all the time though. Not all the time. Now, this is how you fly through mountains. Temporary waypoints. Set the altitude and the spot you want to go to, and the plane, the autopilot will fly you there. As you can see, the altitude is going kind of crazy because it's because it is trying to avoid the terrain. All right, what did you want me to do? Fly as low as possible through the mountains. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. Remember, don't hit escape. Whoa, no. Okay. Remember, don't hit escape. This is how you fly around mountains. You will be doing this a lot in your missions to avoid not only mountains, but radar sites. Like I said, this mission, this station, and the electronic warfare station, you'll be spending quite a bit of your time. You'll be spending quite a bit of your time flying through mountains like this. As you can see, I'm using a combination of terrain avoidance computer and and ground radar and temporary waypoints to fly through the mountains on the way to waypoint 3. My throttle set at? Hang on. Oh no, that's way too. Slow it down a little bit. We don't want to burn through all our fuel. Still have plenty. Right. So yeah, like even though there's a cockpit, you will not be doing much of the flying from here. You'll be doing a lot of it from here. As you can see, there are hills coming up, but I'm sure that's going to show up on the radar soon, and I will use temporary waypoints to avoid them. Now it gets tricky when you're setting temporary waypoints to avoid guys, and then switching back and forth between these other stations to jam or to fire. You know, it gets very tricky. It gets very tricky. But again, it's doable. It's absolutely doable. I did it back in the day. It's absolutely doable. It's just very challenging, but it's so satisfying. Getting through a mission in this game, absolutely satisfying. Oh my God. When I finished the Flight of the Old Dog mission, I was sweating. I was drenched in sweat. I was exhausted. But my God, was it worth it. You didn't get like a bit, I don't think there was a big cutscene or anything, but you still like had the satisfaction of knowing you beat the book, basically. Very, very satisfying. I am honestly surprised we haven't been pinged by a transponder yet. I wonder if we're gonna at any point. Oh crap. We're alright, we're okay. Now, the terrain computer probably would have flown us over those mountains, but that is not what we want to do. Wait, what happened? No, not 0. Why would I want to set 0? So wait, you were... what happened? You were on an F111? What happened? Hang on. Okay. So hang on. 107. 107. Okay, this is nice. Looking at the mission orders here with F7 does pause the game. So that is nice. That is nice. Don't hit escape. Hit one of the other F function keys to go back to the station. That is nice. That is very nice. That are we about to hit? Oh yeah, we're about to hit waypoint 3. Now going to waypoint 4. All right. We definitely have some mountains coming up. How are we doing on fuel? We're okay. There we go. We don't have to deal with them yet. Probably will at some point though. Yeah. We are going to have to deal with them at some point. But not quite yet. And you may think to yourself, Brian, how is this exciting? This is definitely exciting. This is super exciting. I'm having a wonderful time. But you're looking at a screen, Brian. I know, but isn't all video gaming looking at a screen? But I want a dogfight. Well, then go play something else. That's not what this is for. What do you mean 6 to midnight? What does that mean? Here we go. All right, let's see what we got. Okay. Uh-oh. Crapola. All right, hang on. Hang on. It's gonna be fun. We got this. We got this. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're good. We're fine. We're okay. We're a little higher than I'd like, but that's because we're dealing with mountains. But yeah, as you can see, temporary waypoints are an absolutely essential. Oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Well, this is gonna be fun. Hang on, guys. Yikes. Okay, we're going around that. Oh my gosh. No, we're not going through that. We're going around that. Yeah, that looks way too craggly for us to go through. Woo! Okay. No, 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 no. Don't turn into the mountains. What are you doing, buddy? You go. Get around them. Come on, man. You go. There we go. Okay. Whew. Wow, we're not even done. We might only get 2 missions in today. That's okay. This is going to be a fairly long series because there's a lot of content. But we're not going to play everything. We're not going to play every mission. That is ridiculous. That would be ridiculous. What we're going to do is we're going to do, like I said earlier, we're going to do all the trading missions and then just samplings of all the missions. You know, we'll start with the Persian Gulf. We might do Fly the Old Dog. We'll do the expansion stuff. Yeah. We got any mountains coming up? No, looks clear so far. Oh, excuse me. Oh, apologies. Yeah, these missions are long. So I'm sure there'll probably be some days where we only get 1 mission in. That's okay. I mean, I could speed up time a little bit, but I don't trust time compression in flight sims. I don't. So I try to avoid it whenever possible. I've been burned too many times. Way too many times. Whew, that was a thrilling. That was a thrilling. That was thrilling. I am again surprised we didn't get pinged by someone on the ground. But what are you gonna do? Are we heading to waypoint 5 or waypoint 6? I think we're heading to waypoint 5. No, we're heading to waypoint 6. There's the runway. Alright, we don't have to be... Gotta go up a little bit in order to land. Alright. Runway. Oh yeah, I gotta turn. What? Drop the nose? You mean like the Concorde? No. No, you don't play with the nose in this game. I know that in the book it's got the variable nose like the Concorde, but this game doesn't model that. Now the nose is always in that position, pretty much. Nose is always in that position. Hang on. I'm not at the best angle for a landing here because there's the runway. Good morning, Rex. No bombing as of yet. We are just basically doing... I want to get some distance from the one-way. The one-way? Be very, very quiet. We're landing an airplane. Sorry. No, we've just been doing basic navigation today. Usually I'm supposed to do an approach, but like the way the waypoints set me up here, it's like... Alright, here we go. Slow it down. Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, okay. Oh. No wonder we're heading a stall. We're heading a stall. I didn't put the flaps down. That was dumb, Brian. That was dumb. Okay. Slow it down now. thought I put the flaps down, but I did not. I apologize. Okay. Gotta have the flaps down for takeoff and for landing. All right. 2 missions down. We spent... That's a lot of fuel. All right. We don't have time for another mission, so I'm going to call it. Which I'm kind of fine with, because I have to start the laundry. But those are the first 2 missions, and like I said, we have quite a few more... We have quite a few more to... No. We have quite a few more to go. We've only done the first 2, so the next one is going to be radar evasion. The carbon offset cost of that flight. Now we're gonna, so the next mission we're gonna be learning how to evade radar. So that's gonna be the next mission. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. This game is lovely, and you should all buy it. What are we doing on Monday? I don't remember. Come on, what are you doing on Monday? Oh, we're gonna be playing Mars First Logistics on Monday. Okay. Sure. So have a great weekend, everyone. Be safe, be well. Excuse me. Take care of each other. Please get vaccinated. If you haven't already, get your shots, wear your masks. Thank you, as always, to our patrons who help pay for things like Restream. My brain. Don't forget to check out Retro Dogfight. The next episode's coming out on Wednesday, which will be about F-19 and F-117. And don't forget to wear your helmet. We'll see you back here on Monday, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.